Welcome, friends, to another episode of the Means of Grace podcast. I'm Jesse Ennis, back from a wonderful Thanksgiving where I think I overshot my family visitation. Instead of going just like one state over, I ended up going 2,000 miles over to South America, to Guyana, to spend time with my family and celebrate Thanksgiving in a country where we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. But it was a good time. It was a fun time. I'm joined by my partner in theological wanderings and occasional mischief, Reverend John Yeager. John, how you doing, man? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. A lot of Amy's family came, so our house was crowded, had kids running around, things got broken. There were, I think, 5 or 6 animals in the house at one time or another. But, you know, we're good. We're good.
Thanksgiving without it, man.
Without chaos, right? That's right.
Exactly. Today's episode explores something ancient, something deeply human, and something incredibly urgent. What it means to stand with the vulnerable when the systems around them seem to be closing in. With us today is the Reverend Dr. Luke Edwards to help guide us through today's difficult times. But first, a little conference news. The Western North Carolina Conference has launched the Immigrant Ministry Crisis Fund, a new initiative to help families navigating legal challenges. Food insecurities as well, sudden displacement, and the crushing uncertainty that shadows so many of our immigrant neighbors. Churches across the conference have already begun contributing, so we would love to invite you to participate in that as well. And that sets the stage for today's conversation. John, take us into a story that frames all of these wanderings.
Just something to kind of spring from, and a little sermon fodder for all you clergy out there who are wrapped up in all of this too. It's a story, it's a quiet one. Hidden among a lot of loud stories, a lot of movies you've seen about the Crusades. It unfolds in Jerusalem, 1099. The Crusaders have brutally taken the city. The streets are in chaos, families are displaced, refugees are running for their lives. Wounds, both physical and political, bleeding everywhere. The new rules are simple. No helping Muslims, no helping Jews, no aiding enemies of the cross. Compassion became contraband. But tucked inside the ancient stone walls of the city was a monastic group known as the Hospitallers. Before these knights were swinging swords, these men and women were running a hospice, literally a house of hospitality, for sick pilgrims, travelers, the poor, the wounded. In defiance of Crusader authorities, the Hospitallers hid Muslim families, treated their wounds, fed Jewish refugees, welcomed Eastern Christians who didn't know where to go. When questioned, one of them was recorded as saying, "The rule of Christ requires mercy before conquest." It's a quiet but confident rebellion, not the kind with banners and battle cries, the kind that happens by candlelight, in basement corridors with bowls of water, torn clothes, and whispered prayers. The Latin hospice, meaning guest or stranger, hospitalia were places for receiving them. And so hospital became a word we still use today, a shadow of their legacy, a linguistic artifact of radical mercy. This is why I think these Hospitallers' story matters, because we're still asked daily whether compassion will be our governing principle or just something we talk about. And that is our transition to our guest today. Luke, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. Always good to be with y'all.
Yeah. What comes to mind when you hear that story? What's your first thought?
Yeah, it feels deeply resonant for what the faithful people in Charlotte have been doing the last several weeks as increased federal enforcement has come to really terrorize immigrants in our community.
And people stepping up.
Yeah.
Fill the gaps.
I love that, and I love seeing the clergy response and the ways that faithful Christians are asking deep questions and are being called and convicted into participating in this work. Luke, tell our listeners, why did the conference decide this was the moment to create the Immigrant Support Fund?
Yeah, so a few things kind of came together. So, um, one, the uh, Trump administration has uh, been shifting American policy pretty dramatically against immigrants. And so we're seeing it unfold in a lot of different ways. We're seeing countries that have been receiving protection through asylum, getting those rights stripped from them. We're seeing militarization of ICE and now Border Patrol. And Border Patrol has changed tactics. Just starting in the last month of the Biden administration, Border Patrol moved away from the border to make detainments of immigrants oh, oh, several, I guess maybe 100 miles from the border. That was the first experiment in the last few weeks of the Biden administration. And then when Trump came into office, gave them the green light to do that wherever they wanted to. So now, no longer is Border Patrol just on the border of our country. They are now in going to cities that are hundreds, thousands of miles from a border. And so November 15th, Operation Charlotte's Web began in Charlotte, North Carolina, nowhere near a border, and yet federal enforcement of Border Patrol officers came into our city and really just started indiscriminately detaining brown-skinned people. Basically, the Supreme Court upheld that they could detain people based on looks, based on where they were working, based on whether they had an accent. So it's basically indiscriminate racial profiling that has been upheld by the highest court of our country. And they came in and wreaked havoc on Charlotte, particularly in the areas of Charlotte that have high Hispanic populations, and they were just roving around, just looking for people that looked like they could be Hispanic immigrants and detaining them, sometimes detaining American citizens, and then also detaining folks without documentation and quickly moving them into jails and eventually towards deportation.
Yeah, and it's just a different tone, right? It's not these things. I think it's important. These things have always existed to some degree and on some level. And this is something different.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, this is meant to be scary. It's meant to be terrifying.
Yeah, they're masked. They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just masked, unmarked vehicles that
And
just
the
kind of swoop in
psychology.
and snatch people up. It's
Yeah.
very terrifying.
And people are, man, I'm going to tangent for just 2 seconds, but people are kind of obsessed with the masking as far as saying, oh, well, now they can't be held accountable, right? We can't go get them, if they do something wrong. That's one side of it. The other psychological side of it is what somebody is more capable of doing if they're masked. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of running around, what kind of people could do this? Well, let me tell you, there's a lot of psychological experiments, sociological experiments that have been done about what a human being is capable of doing if they think they're not going to be caught, or if they think that they're going to do it anonymously. More likely to follow laws, or more likely to follow orders and things that are immoral, more likely to use force. So it's a two-way. It's got a lot of layers to it.
Yeah, and the officers have gotten $50,000 hiring bonuses. January 1st, with a new budget, we'll get billions of dollars of financial support and equipment.
It's almost as if these are just kind of the experiments. Chicago first, us, in Charlotte, and there'll be some more, but I do fear for when the budget switches over.
So as that was unfolding that week of the 15th, I was checking in with our immigrant congregations in the Charlotte area and just hearing that people were locking down, people were staying home, people that were had papers or didn't have papers were scared and were staying home. And so there was a lot of loss of work, loss of income, people who were missing doctor's appointments, uh, people that needed groceries. All these different physical needs started appearing really quickly. It felt like a natural disaster almost, but it just hit one population, one demographic. It's like but yeah, so or like a pandemic. It felt like pandemic lockdown or something, but that just hit one subset of our community. And so we worked as quickly as we could to set up a fund where folks who wanted to support these immigrant churches that were supporting their immigrant members and neighbors could donate financial gifts to help that work happen.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing about that. So how are those funds already being used?
Yeah, so we did an immediate distribution that week of some funds that were already available to 7 churches. And these were 7 churches in the Charlotte area who have immigrant members and who already know their immigrant neighbors and members that were in need. And so they've used those funds in different ways. In that first week, a lot of it was groceries. It was kind of helping with bills and those kind of immediate costs. As the fund has unfolded and we've started to see, as I mentioned earlier, some of these nations being stripped from the list of asylum protection, we expect some of the congregations to be able to use these funds for legal assistance for their members and their neighbors. We've also, starting to see other types of bills beyond just food, rent. Maybe it's car insurance or
Well, dominoes, right?
Yeah, heating
They have
bills.
to prioritize, right? And so everything moves up, and then they're like, "Uh-oh." I mean, it never ends when you mess with someone's life like that.
Yep. Something we've also said that it can be used for is if a church with a large number of immigrants is losing income itself, that they can use these funds to make up for lost income, so the church can keep functioning and keep their ministry going. We haven't had that yet, but
Well, speaking of which, though, go ahead, Jesse. You got something on that real quick before
Yeah, I was
we
going
have
to
an
say,
announcement, a fun announcement to be made here.
I think the thing about that is, it sounds to me like what the overarching thing that the fund is doing is, injecting the resources that are needed when systemic type changes are happening. Because I think, for all the talk about immigrants and things like that, I think it could be easily forgotten or missed how interwoven our immigrant populations are with the wider American population. And it's not just people working certain jobs. It's church members. It's it's taxpayers. It's folks who are so interwoven into our society that it's almost like an amputation to take them out. And so, some folks might be thinking, it's just this one population. Like you're saying, Luke, it's like, it feels like a hurricane that's hitting just this one population. But, it does have wider effects to all of America that we might be noticing already. I know, Luke, you and the churches that you're working with are already noticing, but the wider society will notice eventually.
Yeah, they will. We have an announcement. Strangely heartwarming, ladies and gentlemen, because that was sad. But there is hope. There always is. Where we look for sparks of grace that can come from nowhere. So you just got to be ready and expectant. Luke, go for it, man.
Yeah, so so we had raised $6,000 up to Thanksgiving, which was really generous gifts of individuals, some churches that donated to that fund, and are able to distribute that. And then I got a call this week from the Conference Board of Pension and Health Benefits, and they said that they were going to make a donation of $100,000 to the Immigrant Ministry.
Let's go.
Yeah, so went from 6,000 to 106,000.
Wow.
So it was
Thanks be to
That's
very
a crazy
exciting.
call to get.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, and so I've been able to share that with the team that's administering those funds, which is the exec team of the Hispanic Ministry Council at the conference, and they're just super excited, and we're getting ready to send out the application to our 18 immigrant churches in the UMC Western North Carolina Conference. They'll get to apply for those funds.
So cool.
That's good stuff.
I love when grace comes in sideways like a freight train. So
I know.
Before you go
They left me a voicemail, and
oh god,
you know how your iPhone transcribes it, and it said 100,000 on the transcription. I was like, nah, that iPhone just got that wrong.
Failed
And
again,
then I listened to it, and it was real.
Oh, I love that.
That's great. Well, hey, so before we let you go, though, help our pastors, lay leaders, churches. What are some practical steps, real quick, that they can take in the days and weeks to come?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. One is you can make a donation to that immigrant support ministry, Immigrant Ministry Crisis Fund,
because that will go down fast.
Website. I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure it gets used really well and supports our
so
neighbors.
We need to keep it going.
And then others, like, reach out especially if you're a pastor, reach out to a pastor of an immigrant congregation near you and just say, hey, is there anything we can do to support you? There's also really great nonprofits and agencies that are doing really good work right now that you can volunteer with, that you can offer financial support to. We've got a lot of United Methodists who have gone through safe to work, safe to school trainings with Siembra. And that's a way of helping folks know where federal enforcement are present and keeping people safe. I mean, I think just being present, if you are able to go and worship at a immigrant church near you and just tell the folks there that, hey, we're here to support you, and just having that ministry of presence, that ministry of support. And then last, just advocating for justice, that just letting our government know that this is not how we want our tax money used. We don't want our neighbors terrorized by federal immigration enforcement with masks on. And we don't want the moms and the dads and the grandpas and the grandmas that are working hard and contributing to our country in so many ways, blessing us in so many ways. We don't want them snatched up. But we want them to have avenues to become citizens and to be our neighbors for the world.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Luke. And I think most importantly, with all of the news that's happening, thank you so much for reminding us that our church has a path towards being, the hands and feet of Christ in our community right now. Thank you for highlighting that path to us and for letting us know how we can participate in that, because I know that there are a lot of folks who see the struggle and would love to be a part of it, but they don't know where to start. And so I think even in the brief time that you've had with us, I know you have a lot more work to do because the work continues. We're just really appreciative of your leadership and for you coming on the show, for sharing the word, and letting us know how we could be a part of the body of Christ, present with our neighbors in this time. So
can I add one more thing?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think we don't recognize enough is how much the Hispanic church has contributed to the wider church. just the
Without us
universal
maybe
church.
realizing it, right?
Yeah, but also the United Methodist Church, the Hispanic churches within our connection have given us so much. And one of the things that I've really benefited from our Hispanic theology is a phrase called accompanimiento. And my Spanish is terrible, so sorry. But accompanimiento, it means walking alongside, coming alongside our neighbors who are struggling, and not doing stuff for them, not paternalism, but to come alongside and to support and walk alongside. And so that's, I think, the invitation to all of us is to embrace accompanimiento with our immigrant neighbors, whether they're Hispanic or from countries in Africa or wherever, the Middle East. We've got a lot of accompaniment to be doing. So,
Amen.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much
Luke,
for that word, man.
thanks, y'all.
Keep up the good work.
Amen.
Y'all too.
I want to thank Luke again for coming on with us here and giving us a little bit of guidance and catching us up. I hope that it inspired you. So let's fail, shall we?
Yeah,
We are going to fail upward,
man.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, let's
failing
do it.
upward. Amen. So for epic fail, I kind of want to talk about us for a second. Oh, I hate turning it on us, right? But gosh, Luke said something that just hit so deeply in me. Is the presence? Is that because I've been asked a lot of times from people, how can we get involved? What should I do? They don't know what to do. And his answer is perfect, and I'm going to say it every time now, is you just got to go be there.
Yeah.
You got to be there.
Absolutely.
Like after that, anything can happen, but there's like a presence. There's a strange, and it's very Jesus-y. I don't mean to get too Jesus-y, but it's very like Jesus, I feel, was constantly like, well, you kind of had to be there, right? Mm-hmm. Like you had to, if you didn't go meet this particular poor person who had leprosy in that moment, in that time, if you weren't there, then you don't know. You had to be there, right? And that's why I healed him, right?
There may be fans of Woody Allen out there, and there's a quote that I try to remind myself of that he said 80% of success is showing up. So I know a lot of times you might feel like I don't know what I'm showing up to do, what I'm being present to say, but I think 80%. What is that in school? 80% is a B. I think getting a B just for showing up is a really good foundation to kind of start with. And so if you're struggling with, how you can make an impact in any given situation, showing up and listening and being present and reminding people that they're not alone, I think is a huge, huge, huge first step.
Yeah, it'll change you.
Absolutely.
It'll change you as much as you change them. You just you got to be there.
Absolutely.
And we haven't been, is the fail. We have not been. Because we too often, we hear maybe over the years, we've heard somebody maybe once a year say something about our immigration issues and, this many undocumented immigrants and what we need to be doing and that kind of thing. But for most of us, including me, I just kind of went, that's nice, right? Like, I should probably do something. And maybe say, what should we do? I don't know. And then it's past. Right?
Yeah.
And the issues that have gotten worse and compounded and compounded and compounded. And we've kind of pushed it down the road, pushed it down the road, pushed it down the road. And now something catastrophic happened. And we are all mortified by it. But should we be as shocked as we like? That's what should we? Yeah. Should we have the privilege to feel as shocked as we do? To go, I can't believe something like this could possibly happen. Like, well, it was.
And I think to your point too, like those who are leading the charge in some of these things that are so negative and hurtful towards the community, might come to the conclusion that it is okay for them to do it if no one speaks out against it, or if very few,
or if nobody was willing to do anything about it. That's what I've heard a lot of, and there aren't very many fair positives for that side, and this isn't even a positive. It's just a fact is I think a lot of people started feeling like, well, if nobody's going to do something about it,
Yeah.
or anything,
Yeah.
because we haven't created a reasonable path for citizenship for these people.
That's true. That's true.
We haven't created the necessary safety nets and things, and we've forced them to continue living kind of on the margins, and we call it compromise.
Yeah.
And so year after decade, and now we're here, and I feel like, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and we were fine benefiting from.
Oh yeah, that's right. We'd hear the jokes, like people picking things or people working under the table, getting paid less money, and we just kind of went, well,
yeah. Yeah, and I think to your point, in terms of epic failures, I think it's a failure of being a good neighbor, being a neighbor that loves your neighbor well enough. I think one important part of loving someone is knowing someone, and I don't think we know our neighbors well enough to know, or care to know our neighbors well enough to know what their circumstances are, and how we could even necessarily be a part of it. A lot of the stuff that we're even hearing about is stuff that we're hearing about on the news, stuff that we're hearing about on social media. Mm-hmm. Some folks might be hearing about this for the first time. And I know that, not everyone lives in a community with immigrants, but like I said earlier, I think because all American people are so intertwined.
Oh gosh, yes.
That I think it's important for us to understand what everyone else is going through.
Yeah. And I think you're spot on there. And it's so interesting to me because I've heard a lot of stories of people whose maybe neighbors were taken or whatnot, and they've been shocked.
Yeah.
People that say they knew them, right? That, he's come to our barbecue every year, whatever. Yeah. He mows my yard when I'm not home. He watches, and then all of a sudden they're gone. And I've heard these stories of, I had no idea they were here illegally, right? Mm-hmm. And I think to myself, well, it is their job to be vulnerable, I suppose, but that's a very big ask.
Yeah.
For somebody, and you need to create the space for somebody to be able to say something like that.
Yeah. Well, and so another thing that I've heard too is this idea that immigrant communities, they're really just this community in particular is really just out for themselves. They'll take care of each other, but they don't really care about other minorities. They don't really care about the nation in particular. They're just kind of out for themselves. And
how much does the nation care about them?
Well, there's that, and
that's,
I've heard folks say, and so I've heard folks say, it's not great what's happening to them, but we'll let them fend for themselves, because if it was the other way around, then they wouldn't step in to help us. And folks are entitled to their opinion, absolutely, but I think as followers of Christ, if you consider yourself a follower of Christ, it shouldn't matter what you suspect or assume somebody else will do for you.
No, even if you're wrong.
Exactly. Even if you're wrong, even if you're right, even if you suspect that somebody wouldn't step up for you in the same way, you don't step up for them because of how they would respond. You step up for them because of who God has called you to be.
Yeah, and Jesus very clearly said that's a terrible reason.
Yeah.
If you do that because they can help you, or because they can help you back, that ain't cool.
Exactly.
That's not just you don't just not get bonus points. Like, Jesus is like, no, that's actually a big negative.
Yeah.
That's not just not being charitable. That's a weird, toxic way of only looking out for yourself and calling it charity.
Absolutely.
So watch out.
And so I think maybe this is an opportunity too for us to reevaluate when we decide hurts we are willing to heal in our communities, who's the basis of that decision? Is that basis the people that we're seeking to heal? Is that basis ourselves? Or is that basis God, who has called us to this work, the same God who is supplying the resources that we need to continue on in this work, and the power that we need to stand up to the principalities and the powers of this world?
And the God who we thank repeatedly is on Thanksgiving, say, for all the blessings, the many, many blessings that we have been showered with, and then the next day we keep them to ourselves.
Yeah.
But we do have a tendency, especially in this country, to speak glowingly of how much we have in all of our blessings when talking to God. But when we're talking to each other, we're like, well, times are tough. I don't know if I could help.
Yeah,
I'm all out of time, all out of everything. I don't like. Whoa, wait a minute.
Exactly. So I think, it's a good opportunity for us. Like we said, we fail upward, right? And so if this conversation comes at a time where you feel like you haven't done enough, if you feel like you're being convicted,
which is okay,
you could be doing more. Yeah, that's
a lot of that going
okay.
around.
There's time. There's no time like the present to begin participating, and this conflict, this season doesn't seem to be anywhere near its end.
No, and it may be ramping up. And as I was gonna, Luke had run on us, but we, I think, have an opportunity to be a maybe not role model or so much of a just because we have gone through this. We, I think, have an obligation to wherever it goes next to say, hey, this is what we ran into, right? This is where they went. This is where their targets. This is what we did, what worked and what didn't, where we were not prepared, how we failed.
Exactly.
And I hope that we do that because I think you're right. I think it'll start. It's the beginning of something.
Yeah, and so we could always use more folks standing up for healing and for and restoration in this world. Let us be that shining example of who God called us to be. There's no greater time, in my opinion, than now. For the church to stand up as a witness for the gospel that we all proclaim. So let's go ahead and do that.
To me. I mean, I say that, and I don't mean it to be kitschy or whatever. But it does kind of take me for a loop when churches are like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating that we've come to this point where during real, genuine crisis, when the moment, if you will, comes, our hearts, and this is going to go into Advent, our hearts just weren't fully prepared to accept that level of trauma, into our life, to accept that level of hospitality and danger and all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and so if you're looking for information, I'm grateful to Luke for sharing so much about how we can participate and how we can get involved. And I'm also grateful that you can always go to our website. You can always go to WNCC .org and find
and the Reverend Joel Simpson is one of our leaders in our conference. Absolutely. He is always looking for new recruits, if you will, to further the cause. You may have seen him recently on a lot of national news. So some churches, First Church downtown, their website has fantastic, up-to-date information on this stuff. They do a fantastic job. The conference does as well. And I think, the church that did the training for
Dilworth, United
thank you, Mercy. Yes, and a shout out to Dilworth for taking let's just call it a risk to some degree, and hosting training on how we can be those present neighbors.
Yep.
In the midst of all of this chaos. So those are just some things going on that you could get in touch with and connect with if you were looking for a way to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so thanks again to Luke for joining us today. And thank everyone who has played a role in these past few weeks. It's been long and it's been difficult. And so our prayers is that other folks will step up and step in, and we can carry this heavy load together.
Absolutely. Advent calls us to make room in our churches, our communities, and our hearts, but also in our courage, because compassion takes space. And I don't know if we knew that, but it does. It takes risks. It takes the decision to open the door, even when the world tells you to bolt it shut. But the beautiful part is when we prepare room for someone else, God prepares room inside us, room for grace we didn't know we needed, room for hope that we thought we'd lost, room for the kind of love that stitches the world back together, one stranger at a time. So wherever you're listening, car, kitchen, sanctuary, a moment in your life that feels unmoored, may you hear this invitation. Make some room, real room that costs something, room that changes something, room that looks suspiciously like love.
Because God has always come to us through those who need us most. Friends, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The Means of Grace, for all of the support that you have given us. You may have heard that we won an award for
we did.
for one of our podcasts, and so we thank you so much to everyone who supports us, and wherever you support us, whatever platform you're using, we give you thanks so much for that. And so we hope it encourages you. We hope it continues to challenge you and remind you that you are not alone, not in this work, not in this season, not in this world. So we thank you so much for your support, and until next time, may you go in peace, may you go with courage, and above all, may you go making room.